mic is off.
Good evening, everyone. The regular meeting of our Transportation Committee to order for today, Wednesday, March the 11th at 4 o'clock. At this time, we'll have a roll call. Alderman Savage,
Present.
Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Present.
Okay. I appreciate my two aldermen here with me each and every meeting. Thank you. At this time, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you for making that motion. Next on the agenda is our business and miscellaneous approval. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Now, next on the agenda is business and miscellaneous approval of our minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from February the 11th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I can't second because I wasn't present.
You wasn't present.
You can second.
Well, I'll have to second it. I'll second it. Thank you. Alderman. All in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. He would say aye, he wouldn't. Okay. Now, next on the agenda is general discussion. First up is ID 56-26, Pedestrian and Cycling Safety Coordinator Update by our bike/ped micro mobility coordinator, Mr. Rao. Is he present? Please introduce yourself and state your name and your job title, please.
Good evening, everyone.
evening.
My name is William Rao. I'm the project coordinator, program coordinator for bike, pedestrian, and micromobility in the city of Annapolis. The department I'm in is the Department of Transportation. What I wanted to do today, if they could pull the slide up presentation. Doesn't look like, interesting. It's not what I actually created, but maybe somehow, oh, there's Julian. Okay. I'm gonna walk you through an update of what we've been working on and also what is coming. So there's a bit of that presentation which I will deviate from because in my finished slide here, I have, a few more things.
Okay.
So bear with me.
All right.
Most of it will be a narrative related to that. So the bike and pedestrian micro-mobility world in Annapolis comprises of and comes from the Annapolis Bicycle Master Plan. And our Bike Master Plan was first authored in 2011, and it's been, there's been a couple different iterations, and most recently what we've done is added to it and alluded to the original intent. A lot of that intent comes from the vision statement, which I'll get into. Next is, I'll talk about the bike share and scooter RFP, which for those who do not know, we previously had a contract with Bird Bike and Scooter. And Bird Bike and Scooter, that contract sunsetted, and we ended up on our search for a new vendor to fulfill our bike share program. The next is community initiatives, so it's outreach and engagement and other events. And then the Access Annapolis Symposium, I'll fill you in on that and what's coming with that. And then also Bike to Work Week. So why active transportation matters. I just want to walk you through a little bit of the importance of active transportation. Number one, it improves mobility and accessibility for residents and visitors. We know that getting around our city is at times not an easy thing to do unless you're in a car. And so what we've attempted to do is improve the access that people have when they're not in their personal vehicle. And that includes public transportation, that includes being on a bicycle, and that also includes being on a scooter. And what is most important also is for those that are walking, because we have a vibrant city dock in areas where tourists and others come, and we have a lot of children in this city who walk to school. And so we want to be sure they're safe. What it also does is reduces congestion and emissions. And I think that goes without saying because of our proximity to the water and our focus on really being mindful of our natural world and what that means for our health and vitality in the city, because one could say a little bit of our lifeblood is our water. The next is it supports public health and safety. We do know that it adds years to people's lives when they're able to do cardiovascular activities, but they're also able to do things that get them out of their house, out of their normal environment, out into fresh air, out into the sun, and they're able to both improve their mental health as well as their physical health. The other is it strengthens our local economic activity, and how that does that is through businesses. It allows people who actually live here, to not hop in a car and go to their local market, but allows them to get out, meet their neighbors, and spend more time at some of our shops and walking around, because when people do walk around, there's an opportunity for them to purchase some things, which adds to our local economy. Lastly, is it advances transportation equity. And this is something we've talked a lot about and is kind of the core part of all of it. And that's ensuring that senior citizens, young people, again, visitors to the city, but also residents that live here have an opportunity to get from one part of our city to another. That includes those who are somewhat geographically marginalized, those who live in public housing, some that live on the periphery of our city. We want to be sure that they're able to get to some of those hot spots in the city, but also be able to get out, meet their neighbors, and do so safely. So next I want to talk a little bit about, as is referenced on the first bullet, our Annapolis Bicycle Master Plan. So this bike master plan establishes a long-term framework to expand safe, connected, and accessible bicycle infrastructure and programs throughout our entire city. The vision statement, which I wanted to raise up because I think it's something that really encapsulates why we're having a conversation about bicycles, pedestrians, and micromobility. So the vision statement reads as follows. It shall be the policy of the City of Annapolis to invite, welcome, and encourage more bicycling by planning, developing, and continually improving safe and accessible streets through programs like safe routes to schools, and in off-road networks and amenities such as bicycle storage, signage, education, enforcement, and maps. And I know one of our committee members did a lot of work on Hilltop Drive, and I know you understand the importance of bike safety, and also I'm positive you understand some of the hurdles that it takes to get some of those infrastructure-based things off the ground. So I commend you for that, and I appreciate that. So now I want to go through what some of the goals are for the master plan. And the first goal is integrated bicycle transportation program, and that's developing a bicycle transportation program that's coordinated and is not siloed. So it's coordinated with Anne Arundel County, with their Department of Transportation, as well as the state of Maryland with MDOT, and being sure that we are in line to receive some of the financial assistance as well as planning assistance and their funding of larger plans. So they have these kind of regional plans that they're working on. And one key part of that in terms of integration is being sure we're connected with other trail systems. So we have trail systems in the city of Annapolis that are somewhat bifurcated. and, they're not really connected with the larger system. And that's part of the plan, is to be able to actively do that. Along with Eric Lashinsky in planning and zoning, a lot of that work is being done, and I work with him on all of those plans, and, ensuring that we have a continuous set of easements that we're trying to acquire to be able to expand that system. But what's most important with goal number 1 is integration. Goal number 2 deals with safety, education, and encouragement. Encouragement is an interesting word. We understand safety and education, but how encouragement comes into it is because it is a bit of a paradigm shift to be able to, in a city like Annapolis, to be able to get people, again, out of thinking that in order to get from point A to point B, they need to hop in their personal vehicle and drive there, or they need to park in front of the store that they're shopping at. And if you go to a lot of other areas in the country, really in the world, but we'll just deal with the United States, I think a lot of other places understand that you may not necessarily be able to park your car in front of the store that you want to shop. And so systems are built around that they allow people to use things like our on-demand system that we have in Department of Transportation, which is completely awesome because people can also take their bicycles with them and put them on all of our buses. And so it cuts their drive time and their ride time in half. So part of goal number 2 is creating ongoing programs that focus on bicycle safety, public education, and as I said, encouraging ridership among users of all ages. We have a pretty robust senior population in our city. And so part of that is being able to ensure that they are able to get out and enjoy some of the amenities of the city, but also just, meet neighbors and others who live near them and around them, and we want to encourage that. Goal number 3 is a bicycle network for all users. And this is that network and trail system that I spoke about a few moments ago, and that's developing a convenient and attractive network of on-street bicycle routes. And that's the tough one because, again, our city is a colonial city, and it wasn't built for cars. And so being able to, to actively transfer that into a system that incorporates bicycles is a bit of a challenge, but I think it's a challenge that will pay off in the long run. The other is creating off-street trails. And then the last is infrastructure designed for all abilities and ages. Again, if you think about, for instance, off of Spire Road, we have Weems Wayland, we have Bates Middle, we also have Maryland Hall, but then right across the street, we have the Senior Center, Boys and Girls Clubs. We also have the Cal Ripken Field over there. So the idea that people of all ages can go on trails and, off-road areas and go from point A to point B without getting in their car and going down Spire and then turning and getting on West and then turning again. So that's a part of it. Goal number 4 deals with multimodal connections. And that's ensuring that there's strong connections between bicycle users, pedestrians, and some of those other transportation modes. For instance, our transit system. We're constantly on the lookout for ways to activate our transit system to get more riders, and not just for the sake of having more riders, but to really get a vibrant city where people are out and about and they realize that they can, conveniently walk outside of their door, find a bus stop, maybe put their bike on it, and go from point A to point B, or they can also get one of our bike share scooters or bikes. The other is pedestrian networks. And so, once again, we're not talking about just cars or bicycles or any vehicles. We're also talking about people like a warm day like today. It's an opportunity for what I remember, growing up in the Annapolis area is, a lot of walking, people walking places. We would go play with friends, we'd go play basketball, we'd go from neighborhood to neighborhood. And so the idea is we can, strengthen that network system by providing safe ways for people that are on foot. The next is micromobility systems. And again, I spoke about that in terms of our bike share program. I'm sure you all have noticed there's a lot of scooters that are around the city. Well, there were a lot of scooters, but even without our bike share, we do have, if you notice, a lot of young people that have their own, motorized, e-bikes and e-scooters. And so we want to be sure that there's a system that supports that. And the last is regional transportation corridors. We can't deny the fact that we're in a triangle between very large metropolitan areas, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, but there are places in between, and we want to be sure that we're connecting to all of those places. One keynote for the connector part in terms of multimodal is also being mindful of what the county system is doing so that we're not just relegating ourselves to a kind of, firewalled system where we're not able to go, let's say, to the mall, or we're not able to go to the Parole Town Center. We want to be sure that it's integrated. I'm almost done. Goal 5, sustainable financial plan. And this is the fun part. This is always the fun part, right? Is like, how do you pay for all this? And, a part of that is being able to take some of the revenue from our bike share and scooter program. And so that's why talking about it and creating, somewhat of a work plan that's aspirational is good, because that has the opportunity to increase some of our revenue. The other, of course, is through grant funding and, partnerships with some of our larger stakeholders. So a part of that is infrastructure construction, which, as you know, whenever you do trails, you have to both acquire land, but you also have to work out agreements with landowners. And then there's maintenance of bicycle facilities, which we haven't totally gotten to yet in this city, but the hope is that that will come as soon as our network is is more robust. We also have kind of public-private partnerships with bike stores, bike vendors, and others. So that's helped throughout the years. And the other is education and community programming. So really quickly, I want to tell you about the RFP for our bike and scooter share program. So as I said, this bike share is an opportunity for us to create, an even more equitable way for people to get around the city, because if we just relied on those that have access to bicycles and have space to keep bicycles, and also, maybe have the, financial wherewithal to have bicycles, we may be limited. The bike share programs, provides an accessible way for people to get bikes and not have to, tote them around when they're done using them. They can either dock them or put them on the side of the road somewhere out of the way, and they can use them. This includes electric scooters. It also has an integrated payment system that allows people to have access to it without using cash or change or anything like that. They can tap their phone against it, they can download an app, or they can use a QR code. The other is it has an equity-focused deployment across neighborhoods. One of the issues we faced when we did BIRD earlier on is we geo-fenced in some areas that we thought would be problematic, and there was a lot of learning that took place, and it expanded. And so it's a very good way of connecting communities and connecting people, because when you give people an opportunity to hop on a scooter or a bike, they have the opportunity to go wherever they want, which I think is a good thing. It helps integrate our communities. Lastly, I want to talk about our community engagement, outreach, and events. And a part of this is, of course, to increase awareness and educate the general public in this city about all of these things, but also what transportation means. Whether we're talking about equitable transportation, or we're talking about transportation access for all ages, senior citizens, young people. And what they do is they increase this awareness and hopefully community participation in all of these active forms of transportation. So the first thing we're doing May 1st, and I've sent you all information on this, but I'll resend it as we get closer to the date to fill you in on it completely. But it's a Mobility for All symposium, and this symposium is essentially an opportunity for stakeholders, for thought leaders, for those who work in the transportation space, but also those who are really interested in all the things that I just talked about, which is access and ways in which we can, further evolve our transportation outside of cars. And that's going to be May 1st at the Graduate Hotel. Our keynote speaker is Veronica O. Davis, who wrote a really good book on transportation, and she comes highly recommended on the national level. It'll be really, really interesting, and I invite you all there. It's going to be, the format will be in panel sessions, where each panel will talk about a pertinent subject in relation to equitable transportation. And there'll also be, from Eric Lashinsky, our city planner, there's also going to be a section on looking at the future of transportation, which I think is going to be quite interesting. So that's May 1st. Bike to Work Week is coming around again. That's May 11th through May 15th. We've had really good turnout in past years. What we want to do this year is really, just get more people who are on their way to work, more people who wouldn't normally feel comfortable in the morning hopping on a bike and going downtown. But we want to do that. We want to encourage people to get out. And this is a really important thing for me in terms of my position and my role, because it allows me to work with other stakeholders and work with other entities throughout the state of Maryland. Because I've been involved in a work group. I'm a work group member and committee member for Bike to Work Week, and it's all across the United States. But in particular, in the state of Maryland and Anne Arundel County and Baltimore, it's a pretty huge thing. So you all should get information on that. It'll also be on the website, and we're going to do a press release. The mayor will be speaking, as the mayor does every year. Our director of transportation will be there and probably speaking. We'll have a tent, and there'll be some giveaways and handouts, so I look forward to you all being there. And then the last thing in terms of community engagement and outreach, we did this last year. In the month of October, it's called Walktober. And what we do is we create a campaign that informs people and educates people about pedestrian safety, because it's also Pedestrian Safety Month. And what we do is at our bus stops, we post signs. I had a sign downtown at one of the crosswalks, a Walktober sign, and I took videos and photos of people as they went across and waved. But as we know, we do have pedestrian accidents in this city, and we want to be sure that we're informing not just pedestrians, but drivers, people that are in their cars, that, hey, there's going to be people walking, there's going to be people on bikes, there's going to be children going to school. And so what we do is we do trail rides, we do path rides where we get community folks together in a particular community, and we all meet up, and then we ride our bikes, and we meet each other and talk about our trail system. The other is bike safety demos, and those bike safety demos are both for senior citizens as well as young people and everyone in between. So I have a partnership with our Recreation and Parks Department to be able to do some at Pitt Moyer and some of the other places. And last year I did a demo at the Senior Center in the Bates Complex that was really successful, and everyone was really excited about it. So I appreciate you all's time, and if there's any questions I can answer, I'm happy to do so.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us in this wonderful presentation. My two questions are, one, do we have a timeline on the West-East Expressway yet?
We do. We have a timeline, but it's constantly moving. And part of it is because we have our lawyer who helped us acquire and and work with some of the landowners to get, proper easements and all the legality done with that. What ended up happening is some of them were kind of absent, some of the landowners, so it took a while to reach them. I would say for we installed the sign and we had the symbolic groundbreaking. I don't know if you remember that. That was, but it's supposed to happen any day now when we first start breaking ground. We're still working out some contractual things, but all of the framework is already established for that. So I feel like it's a Senate hearing where they don't answer the question. But in short, it should be it should be sometime this year.
And my second question, and if you don't know the answer off the top of your head, that's fine, but I would love to get something written out. These infrastructure projects take a frustratingly long time for all of us.
Yes.
Some of that's financing, some of that's negotiating with private property owners, is what it is, federal law, financing, property rights, I get that. Some of that is our own city process, and some of that city process is code. What could we do in the code to streamline these projects?
Okay. Well, I will tell you, in the bicycle master plan, one part of that is being able to, for lack of a better word, advocate for that level of change in order for it to happen. We attempted to do it in the last administration, but a lot of it, as you all know, happened like rapidly, and we were kind of building the plane as we were flying it. So in short, I would say I can provide a series of recommendations. I can draw them from the bicycle master plan, but I also have a little bit of framework that I can grab from some other areas, some of my colleagues in similar positions, for instance, the county, to find out their process. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it is time consuming because with everything, there has to be a study related to it, and that's usually what takes a good deal of time. But Alderman Schandelmeyer, to answer a part of your question, we do have an RFP that we've already, I was on the review committee that we've already gone through, which is pushing forward our Safe Routes to School programs and some other things and drawing down money for that. So I think that will kind of expedite a little bit of that process because we'll have our own relative framework locally as opposed to drawing off of Anne Arundel County or the state of Maryland.
Excellent.
Okay, but I will provide some recommendations.
Thank you. And just anything that we can change locally, that we control on this level, I definitely want specifics on. Anything that's required by the state, I'd like specifics on because we can go and at least ask, hey, can you help us streamline this? We might not get it, but it never hurts to ask. And then the feds, the feds, we might as well just yell into the wind. Nothing we could do about them.
Yeah. I will say one really good resource that we have is Eric Lashinsky, because he's done so in other municipalities, but he's also he's actively trying to navigate ways in which we could cut some of the red tape in terms of getting some of the, and you probably already know that, but he's I work with him and he's quite adept at figuring that out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much, Mr. Rao, for joining us today. And can I say about Bike to Work Day, I look forward to biking to work with my fellow Ward 7 constituent and colleague, the director. Uh-oh. We need to get the bike share program set up.
Yeah, we'll get a bike. Yeah, we'll get a bike.
You can borrow one of mine, Marcus.
Actually, I know another director who's in Ward 7 that has a whole garage full of bikes. But in any case, I'm really glad. I know you're somewhat new in this position. It hasn't been too long, but I'm glad that we have you in this working on these. I would love to see the goals if you could send those to us, that'd be great to see.
Okay.
And I love the symposium idea. And let's see, I'm going to try to go a little faster than I normally would, just because I have someplace I need to get to soon. But so as far as the 2011 bike PED plan, I think for those colleagues who may not be aware of some of the background, I believe this is the plan that was put together by your predecessor,
By Ian, yeah.
Banks, because we had a position like yours. So again, this was like 20 years ago, whatever, 15 years ago, and that was under a different director. And then I think we had a new director. That position went away, and we haven't really gotten it back until a year or so ago.
Yeah.
When we created yours. So that plan, the 2011 plan was great, but it kind of went into a black hole because of that. We lost the staff person who was heading it up. We lost the director. So we didn't really have a champion. And so, I'm glad that we will get one, and you be able to champion that plan, because they laid out a lot of things. The plan called for a lasting transportation program that was integrated with the county and the state. It called for annual meetings of their the work group that set it up, and I haven't even had a chance to look at who was in the work group, but that work group was supposed to identify things they need to get updated in the plan, as far as the projected list of projects, improvements, the routes, all kinds of things, and we just haven't. I know both you and Mr. Lashinsky have been working on parts of this, but at least from my mind, I think it'd be really helpful. And think of it, maybe we should reconstitute that work group in some fashion, or utilize the transportation board to help support you in that effort, because I think it does need to be a group effort. And I'd really like to make sure that this plan, is able to be continue in the future, right? Because that's one thing. I know we've worked a lot on these issues the past few years, but we don't really have it collected in, at least not that I'm aware of, that we can really visualize and show to the public, well, here's our plan. These are the improvements that we're looking at immediately. And some of them are pretty easy in the plan. They're like putting up signs, putting paint on the road. Those things we should be able to get done really quickly. And I don't know if we need, and plus we have that Alderman Shannon might be able to help me with it, but we have a CIP project for, I think it's safety improvements, traffic safety.
Yeah.
And I think we did specifically call out in that CIP that it's supposed to be used for these kind of quick build bike projects. And so as you get your head around that plan and what you're envisioning as far as your own goals, I think please do keep us posted as far as if you need additional resources. I think a number of us would be more than happy to try to track that down. I'm trying to figure out different funding mechanisms for this infrastructure. But if in the short term we need a consultant to help out with various aspects, I think we're certainly very open to those kind of prospects.
I appreciate that. And that, luckily, the RFP that we're getting ready to put out into the world, I think is going to help with aspects of that. I think we've already identified the contractor that we're going to use, so hopefully the plan that they come up with can be integrated into this and will greatly help me with the work plan.
Is that the mobility plan that
Yes.
Mr. Lashinsky's working on?
Yes, and myself.
It'd be good, Madam Chair, if you and the colleagues on the committee, if you're interested, I would love to hear about that plan from Mr. Lashinsky. I don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
What I do know about it is that it seems to be very much broader. I think this bike plan is more of a deep dive into specifically biking, but it does touch on other things that you mentioned. But I think that'd be important to hear about as we figure out what we want to fund in the upcoming budget. Yeah, so I guess if could we add that on the list to follow up with? And then, yeah, so I would love to also see more of you if director's willing. I don't know if you think
Yes.
quarterly or something, or at least a few times a
Keep us
year.
posted, yes.
Yeah, on things you need. And I'll just end with something about the bike share program. Would this include, because I think so in the past when we've heard from you and I think the director, it's been, an issue's come up as far as we're not attracting too many bidders on this because the market is just relatively small, at least when you look at just the city, right? Is that accurate?
In a broader sense, yes. The good thing is with the RFP, we do have a lot of vendors that do universities and colleges. And so I think what's going to be most conducive that you can kind of overlay is, let's say, the vendor who does the University of Maryland College Park. It's numbers wise and size wise, it's more conducive than, let's say, which is what you're saying. Let's say Bird is used to markets like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, New York, and stuff like that. And so, yes, what we do is we want to attract some of those other vendors, but they are out there.
Now, is the county joining us on this effort?
So per some other conversations we had when we found out we were running kind of side-by-side treks, Tanya Assman and I have been talking about being sure that we're combining scopes. And part of that is exactly why you're asking, which is it makes no sense that our scope and our geofencing would end right at the county line, and then there's a different vendor. So what we're trying to do is kind of move alongside. But I think what they're doing, what she said they may be doing, is allowing us to do our process, and then if the vendor works for them, there may be an opportunity for them to do the exact same thing on their side.
If I could throw out an idea, because this is what we did with the streetcar feasibility study, which is running it through the Resilience Authority, because obviously, as you mentioned earlier, one of the reasons to get people out of the cars is because of the climate emissions and whatnot. So it is directly related, and plus the transportation sector is our largest sector for greenhouse gases in the city as well as the state. But so perhaps maybe we could end this to the director too, have a conversation with the Resilience Authority about maybe they could be the vehicle to pull our money as well as the counties and do an RFP from them, because to your point, it really seems like it makes sense because people are going to want to take this out, ride on the Wee trail to go out to the mall or the hospital, right? I mean, people I'm sure who live in Bay Ridge or Hillsmere may want to also jump on this, right? Use the bike share. So it probably makes sense to.
I think that's a pretty innovative way to use the resiliency funding, because there's only so much stormwater infrastructure you can put in, and I can think of nothing better to address the problem than cutting it off at the source.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. That's all. If you could maybe talk with the director about see if that might be something that'd be feasible.
Yeah, I'll certainly follow up with you all and provide the answers to the questions that Alderman Shanamara have, and whenever you need me to come back to give updates or to flesh out some of the other things, I'm more than happy to do so.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you all.
Wait, the chair may have questions for you.
I did. I did. So the buses hold the bikes on the have bike racks on them?
Yes.
And how many bikes will they allow on the bus?
I think it's 3.
Only 3?
I think it's 3, at a time.
Are we going to be increasing them if we get this?
Per bus. But people, the odds of people, 10 people having a bike at the same time and putting them on the bus are at current pretty low.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people utilize that. In fact, we had talked, the director and I had talked about, promoting and doing like videos to let people know, because some people may not know that all the buses have bike racks on them.
Right, I didn't know.
Which is awesome. you know, if you think about that, it really is
That's good to know.
it's a good amenity for the
Yeah.
city.
Okay. All right, but just keep us posted, and we really appreciate you being here today, Mr. Rao.
Thank you for
Enjoy
having
your
me.
day. Okay. Next on the agenda is ID 5526, potential bus route serving Annapolis High School. We have Mr. Marcus Moore here.
Yeah,
Okay.
good afternoon, Chair and members of the Transportation Committee. I know you're pressed for time. I will kind of share with you quickly, but not too fast, information about the new bus stop on the county's, it's their number 207. It used to be our yellow route, where it actually goes, when it started, and the like. But we have both of our parking contractors that would like to present, and I have a few things too, and I know Alderman Savage has a press for time. So what I can do is, on March 2nd, which was a Monday, the county added another stop at the swim club. And what this stop does is bring the students just a little bit closer. But they stopped at 2662 Riva Road, which we call the Heritage Turnaround, which is right nearby, and there's a cut across to go to the school itself. I had presented to you last month saying the school would not let us on their property. So this is still, the swim club is not really their property, but they're not allowing the county bus to go 2 times a day, at 8:30 in the morning and also at 3:30. Because to get out of there, they have to go around the school and go out the same way the school buses do. Intermingling, it'll be a bit of a challenge. However, the stop will still remain where it already is, less than 50 yards to the side of it. But that stop is there. It's a step in the right direction. It doesn't completely solve the problem. Alderman Savage and I will be, talking about some of the essays that came up for this fiscal year, FY26, about studies. Our TDP that was approved by you guys last summer talks about a Forest Drive corridor and Eastport circulator. So we want to develop these ideas because a lot of our services go back more than 20 years. Slight changes have been made along the way to make it a little bit better. And if I can use a reference point of our 2019 TDP, it talked about looking at a microtransit. So in 2024, we did. It costs money. So where we are, I talked about last month, I don't want to go too deep into it unless you have questions. We're able to get the technology, which is the iPads, and we rent the software. No one's going to sell it to you. And also get everything set up for this, and we have enough money for 36 months, and we're halfway through that. So in FY 2028, we'll need to look at our microtransit and how it's operating if we want to keep it or expand it. So if I can give you a quick brief on it, what this did was remove 2 underutilized routes. It was the orange route that went Monday through Friday, and it transversed Robinwood, Bywater, all the way down Spa Road. This route did not go to the mall, and it did not go to Eastport. It ran Monday through Friday. The ridership was really low. Monday through Saturday in the evenings from 7 to 10:45, we had something called the Purple Route, which picked up everything that we did. And the Purple Route also encompassed the Yellow Route, which we did. The Yellow Route is all in the county, and that's why the county took it over in 2018. It didn't pick up what we did with the Gold Route, which went from Edgewater to Kmart all the way down to the community college. So that was underutilized. When I say underutilized, sometimes you would, with 2 buses out there for the Purple, we may carry 30 or 40 people, and sometimes 100. But 2 buses for 3.5 hours utilization. And because it ran the whole route, it was on a headway of more than an hour and a half. So now with the go time, if you're going that same place from the mall and you want to get to Bywater, you'd make all those stops along the way. It would take you 20 some odd minutes. Now, with a few people, it's a still shared ride. It won't be as long. But one of the things we look at, ridership, it is more costly or as costly as ADA. See, ADA is a curb-to-curb service, which we're required to have because we have federal funds. It costs twice as much as fixed route, even if you are a senior. So $4, that service covers it. With the go time, it's the same rate as our fixed route. It's the way to go, but it's expensive. But it's the wave of the future, and we do really need to realign. So I look forward to upcoming conversations that talk about what we can do with Eastport, Edgewood Road, because we're going to be developing Cars Beach. And parking is going to be pretty much at a premium, at limited basis, and how we get people back and forth. We need to look at Forest Drive and partner with the county of things that we can do. So looking forward to that, but I can definitely present you with the actual schedule of what the new bus route, what it does, and it just shows you the schedule of where it goes and all. But we can revisit that, but if I may go into my presentation and answer any questions you have and come back to whatever it is that you might have. So for the record, which I don't know if I did actually say, I'm Marcus Moore, Director of Transportation and Parking. And you've already heard from Mr. William Rao, our Bike Ped Micromobility Coordinator. But along with me, with my presentation, you'll also hear from Metropolis, Jason Kinney, the Senior Manager, and Brianna Denton, the Facilities Manager. And with Premium Parking, Jason Parola, the Market President, and also Brianna, Megan Murray, she's the Account Manager. They have some things to follow up from the last time we spoke and try to answer some of the questions that we have going along. So if I may, one of the things we talked about last time around was the automatic vehicle locator, the AVL system. And as I mentioned, it was our hope to piggyback on an existing contract in the state that we could use the same service that the county is using, which is Passio. Not to say we can't, but we decided we're going to go our own direction and get an RP of our own, which will be put out. And who knows, Passio might still be that winning bid. And as we discussed in previous meetings, this technology, of course, will allow us to track the buses in real time and improve the monitoring of on-time performance and provide a more accurate arrival information for our passengers. In addition to that, the system will give our operations staff better data to manage service more efficiently. So the requests for proposals are underway, and once we have them, we'll be evaluating them. And our collaboration with the county really makes a whole lot of sense as you talk to Mr. Rao about the scooter situation. That will be the same thing here. Another thing I'd like to talk to you about, and stop me along the way if there's questions about that, but I'll definitely have time at the end. But I want to talk about the Magenta Shuttle, because also this past Monday, which was the second, we've added that extra little loop that I talked about last month. So that's really helped out, and for a variety of reasons, as I made mention. Even if people don't get off at the first go round, remember this service connects all 4 of our garages, and probably the other ones too, because it's nearby Whitmore, not too close to the Calvert Street garage, but it's free. And as I mentioned before, Monday through Thursday from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, Friday 6 o'clock in the morning to midnight, Saturday 7 o'clock in the morning to midnight, and Sunday 8 to 8. So even though we have an inventory problem with parking downtown, this does help out a lot of the employees of local businesses. Maybe not all of them that are closing that restaurant or closing that bar, but we do have some options that we're working on that can hopefully make life a little bit easier. And along with that, at the work session we had on February 23rd, we're asking about other programs for employers of downtown businesses, the Park, Shop, and Dine. Those programs do still exist, and the further out you get, the cheaper they are. For Gott's Court Garage, a local business will make contact with SP Metropolis, and if they enter their employee or they themselves enter between 12 and 6, they would pay $5, and they would have to be out by 6 o'clock in the morning. Night and garage is $3, and still between 12 noon and 6 p.m., $3 out by 6 in the morning. And the caveat is Park Place is $3, come anytime, out by 6. And the bus stops there. That's where the very first stop of the bus, the Magenta shuttle, is. It works out pretty well. Another question you guys answered, I think I answered almost all the questions you had from that work session, but I think there's 2 that were still outstanding. Why was the ridership so high on a Tuesday? And it is the court. It is the circuit court when they're, the jurors are reporting. You'll see that spike there. Okay. So one of the other things we talked about a little, or maybe we haven't come into that season, we have 2 EV carts. They're called GEM carts. And I know, Chairwoman, you don't like, abbreviations. Global Electric Motor Cars. It's a GEM. It's a E6. 6 just means 6 passengers, and not counting the driver, of course. The one that we have that is, well, we have 2 that are operating during fair weather. The fair weather would be in the next couple weeks, all the way through sometimes October, November. So we were running in the area of Eastport and the Calvert Street. Calvert Street does go down West Street, Church Circle, School Street, around State Circle, Maryland Avenue, Prince George Street, College Avenue, St. John's, and back. Free. Remember, the battery operated, there's no HVAC. We try to do some aftermarket stuff. If I plug it in, I get lesser time. The best time I can get is like 7 hours. And remember, trying to get the bus back to our location to charge for the next day, I can only do it about 6.5 or 7 hours. So ridership in 2025 for that route that I just made mention of was just over 950 people. Remember, Saturday and Sunday. Eastport, a little longer of a route. In fact, I'm sorry I didn't jot down exactly where it went, but it started all the way down at like Bread and Butter, 2nd Street and 7th Avenue, all the way to Eastport Shopping Center, Monroe Street. We had just over 400 during the same period of time. When one ran, the other one ran. So the good news is what we want to try, because this is a pilot program as well. In a couple weeks, I want to say clearly by the Easter weekend, but maybe the last weekend in this month, I want to say it's the 28th, we will put these fully electric carts back on the road. And what we're going to do with this other one is going to be a pilot, and I'll give you a map of it as well. Where is it? It'll start at Church Circle and go down School Street, around State Circle. It'll hit Cornhill Street, which merges into Fleet Street. Fleet Street, they'll be able to make all the way down and make a left on Market Space. They'll come down to Main Street, make that left around Memorial Circle, which is Randall, and also hit City Dock. So it'll make that right, it'll hit City Dock, Craig Street, Prince George's Street, Randall. It'll come back up around Main Street, and then it'll hit Gorman. And it'll go up Gorman, make the left onto Conduit, a right onto Main, back to the Circle. We really think that'll help even folks that are at the top of the Circle to be able to get back down to City Dock. And remember, this is a pilot program just to see how this works out. Hopefully we can run this as long as possible. When I say fair weather, if it's really, really hot, ambient temperature, people say, I'm going to be there in only 5 hours, 5 minutes, but the driver's there for 7 hours. I can only give them so much water, and just trying to keep them comfortable. And because of the flooding, I got to be careful of that too. But we're trying to look at the businesses downtown and what we can do to show that we care, to show that we're working on some things to take a look at. So we talked about the high school, but I want to entertain any questions that you may have before I ask our parking contractors to come up. I will stay up here with them, and in case it comes up to you later on, I'll still be right here.
You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to talk about 2 things that you brought up. One was the parking program for downtown employees. you went over some of the several generous programs we have for each garage. Gets more expensive as it gets more expensive as we get closer to downtown, which makes sense. That's just how prime real estate works. Can you repeat the costs of each?
Sure. And what I failed to do was talk about Hillman. Hillman's got a program too. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is really busy, especially good weather. So there's a program Monday through Thursday. It's $110 for a monthly subscription that they can work that through premium parking. And I know that doesn't work out well for a wait staff or anyone in a bar because you may not work 4 consecutive days, but if you can share it, because remember your subscription in all of our garages, your subscription, you can have up to 3 vehicles in there, only one in at a time. The second one's going to get a ticket. So
$110, just average that out 30 days.
$7 a day if you work every single day.
$3.06. $3.66.
But 4 days a week though. Did you do
Okay,
4?
well, if we do it, I was doing 7 days. A
Oh
week,
yeah,
but,
see, it can't be used Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it's just
Okay.
Monday through Thursday. That's the program we have right now. So it comes out to be about 7. So you're close, but it's 4 days a week.
$7 a day to park in Hillman Garage is an offer and a benefit we have to downtown employees. So we've been getting some emails recently from folks saying that we don't offer affordable parking in our downtown to local employees. Businesses just need to reach out to us
And find out how they work, yeah.
we are very happy to help accommodate. But can you repeat
Yes.
those other ones, which are
I
even more reasonable?
Yeah, because those are a lot better because, you use it, you pay it for it when you use it. So let's go back to Gott's Court, 25 Calvert Street. Under the management of under management of Metropolis, which is SP, it is $5 for their shift because if they're probably not going to work past 6 o'clock in the morning, coming in at 12 noon. You come in between 12 noon and 6 p.m. any day, and you have to be out by 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, $5. You have to sign up through the establishment, so it'll be the owner of the business or the manager of the business reaching out to Metropolis. The second one we talked about is similar. It is Night and Garage on Colonial Avenue. It's $3 for the same parameters. In between 12 noon and 6 p.m., out by 6 a.m. the next day, same price. Park Place, wide open, $3. Come in at any time, but still out by the next day. How do we know the next day? Because they have the LPR system, and that's how they'll register and be able to validate that employee of the local business. As they come up with me too, you may need to peel the onion back a little more. You might have some more specific questions, or they may fact check me to make sure I said everything is absolutely correct.
So for reference point, if someone with that deal parks in Gott's Garage for 12 hours, that is 42 cents an hour. That is very affordable for Gott's Garage, which is less than a mile from the waterfront. Anyway, why noon though? Like, let's say there's a retail employee that has to come in before that, or there's a brunch shift where you have to get in at 10 a.m. What can we do for employees that have to be accommodated there? Do we have ways to deal with that, or is it we encourage them to go to Park Place?
If they were creative, all of our meters are 2 hours. Maybe they have to move it, but $3.25, $6.50. I know it costs more than the whole rest of the time. Or in the garage, the folks behind me will be able to give you the exact cost of the first hour, hour 2 to 3, 3 to 4. It might be cheaper that way as well. But thinking outside the box, there might be a way for that. Maybe that's an anomaly. Not sure, for somebody coming in at 2 hours before that time, and, they're probably still getting off in that calendar day at 10, 11, or 12. Maybe not, after midnight, unless it's some big event, like St. Patty's Day. We hope to keep the bars open, the restaurants open a lot longer.
My second question is regarding the go time. I don't remember if I asked this during our first meeting, but I used Go Time for the first time back in January, and I was very impressed with it. But one issue that we had was For some reason, had it in my head. I guess it's because we had hyped it up as similar to Uber, order it on the app, just go and stand on the spot, that I could pay for it through the app. This was wrong. Luckily, I had $2 cash on me, so we were able to take care of it. But do we have the capacity to find a way for someone to input their credit card information into the app itself to start paying for it? I think if we're really starting to aggressively push GoTime as this wonderful service, that can improve
That's something we really
compliance,
should.
especially if we want to make it as a competitor for rideshare, which I personally do.
Right. The Gen Z crowd, I mean, I'm not that
I'm not that
savvy
young,
with it,
man. I'm
but
still a millennial.
You know what I'm But, putting thing on Apple Pay. So not only with that one, but the rest of our service. So as we grow our service and we improve our service that's been around for the same way for more than 20 years, we need to look at other payment options. So not just GoTime, but others. That's come up, not a lot, but some. How can I pay other than cash? Because the parking allows us that you can prepay for the garages, and these guys can talk to you about how that works. Not necessarily reserving a space, but you're prepaying for a space if the system will allow it based on availability. But that's something, Alderman Schendelmeyer, that I would think that we want to look at. It's going to be a cost to be able to do that. So not just with GoTime, it would make a lot of sense with the other services that we have too.
I personally think that would be worth the cost to figure out and incorporate directly into the GoTime app itself, unless you come back and say it's like millions on top of millions of dollars, then we'll adjust from there. But I think incorporating that convenience can really help encourage more people to use GoTime, which goes into my second question on people using GoTime. I was at the gym. There was a Monday around 3 o'clock, and there was a fellow who was trying to order the GoTime, and he couldn't. It wasn't being offered at that time by the Pit Moyer Rec Center. Apparently, it's only offered at past a certain hour. Do we have plans to expand it to more frequent service beyond after, I think 6 p.m. was the kick-in time, or?
No, that's a good question. And as I made mention of the area served, like right now, it's replacing the orange route. So using the parameters that the orange route never went to the mall or Eastport. So within that 3/4 of a mile of where that orange route was, it'll say no service available if you're around that period of time. 7 p.m. to close, 10:45, or all day Sunday or a holiday is covering the whole city. So during the day, it was that orange route that we removed. So I would have to look at the coordinates and remember my geography of the city of Annapolis as to Pit Moyer 275 Hilltop Avenue.
Used to have an orange route stop.
Sorry?
Used to have an orange route stop.
It does. It does. So why that didn't pick up at that time, I'm not sure. If it didn't ever work, it's always good to call the 410-263-7964. It's our dispatch office. I'm having problems with the app. Can you tell me what's going on? I'm not able to book it on my device. Because what you just gave me at 6 o'clock in that location, it should have been able to book the trip.
They were informed when they called that they couldn't pick them up until 6. I don't know if this was a misunderstanding on someone's part, which it happens, but
If you can, offline if you like, if you can give me the date, we got the time, but the date, and we can definitely check it out. I'm sorry to hear that, because all things that I'm looking at right now, that should have worked.
it was the rare Monday I got to work from home, so I was able to get to the gym. I can't even quite remember the exact date, but it was sometime in February.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Director.
Thank you, Mr. Almar. Your turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Director. So a few things, going back to the high school bus question. So the route, the changes you were talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, were made by the county?
Excuse me, can you
Yeah.
help me out, please? Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
So the route changes that you were talking about in the new bus stop at the pool, was that made by, was that a change made by the county route?
Yes, that was by Anne Arundel
That's a
County.
change to their yellow route, right?
Yes,
So when I looked at that, that doesn't actually cover the city. That route does not go, well, like parts of the city. It doesn't go down Forest Drive, which was the main concern of people.
Right. As I made mention, that was one of the routes that we had that stayed all in the county. So that's why we want to look at some of the other initiatives that you've supported with SAs. This bus or this route was the same route that we ran that's all county.
Okay, so, well, I guess because the concern I've heard from people, so they want the kids on and off of Forest Drive and, around that area to be able to get to the school, to and from school for after-school activities, but they also similarly want the parents to be able to have the ability, who again, may not have car availability, to be able to get on a bus and actually get to the school to participate in their activities. And so the county route doesn't address that because it doesn't go down
Yeah.
Forest Drive. So I'm wondering, what are the options? How can we get coverage? Can we get a fixed route during, morning rush hour and evening rush hour just for a few hours? Or is there some other option that you have in mind? And where's the school district on this conversation, since it'd be?
Yeah, I haven't gotten with the school, but that was one of the things that you made mention, or we discussed about the Forest Drive corridor, of just making that a little bit more robust, because we got a lot of economic development going on Riva Road that would only make sense for us to look at that for other jobs of folks that live within the city. To make those kind of change, we would have to I'm sure we'd have to have public hearing. And that will change some of the routes of how we are connecting. In the top of my head, I mean, it could work, how we divert one route to do something, one of the buses on a specific route to do something different. But we'd really just have to look at how we would need to do a change like that with requesting, what are the steps for that?
Yeah, okay, so is that what you're saying? You would need more time to develop some of the next steps?
Well, yeah, a few things. We'd need to develop what we're going to do. Are we rerouting a brown or red, clearly not a green, to do something like that? And how does that affect connections for other services that we're connecting to currently? And what are the requirements to provide this type of a change, even if it is a pilot?
And is that something that could be done, is that something that would be done by the department or a consultant?
Both. We can actually look internally, what do we need to do with MTA, or what are the rules that we're required to do when we make a change to a bus route, and how things need to be posted with public comment and for how long when we make that kind of a change. Adding a stop along a route like they did, that was pretty easy for them. It's an existing route. It's along the way where they're going. For any of our routes to go down Riva Road, even if we say it's only a half a mile during certain times of the day and getting caught up with other traffic, because you're looking at control devices of getting to certain places and getting back out, may not seem like long, but it could add anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, which is throwing a whole route off. So we really would need to look at a whole route of what we want to do. Part of the TDP talks about that. It's a whole nother color, a blue route to do something similar that can connect with the county or make a connection directly. One of the things we can't do is for one group, as we talked about before, a group of students, a group of seniors, a group of whatever it may be. Any organization, any transportation entity that gets federal funds, you can make stops along the way, and we can do these kind of things, but you're not going to be able to have a route that's going to go express.
Okay.
Because now you're a charter.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I guess that's one reason why I think we need to pull the county in, but I mean the school district. But so we have a lot of people making this request on us. I think all three of us have constituents that are impacted by this, and so I'm just trying to get an idea of expectations on our end, but also expectations of our constituents. So what's the next step, and when should we and they expect to get some updates on that.
You and I, what we can do is try to set up some virtual meetings in the next couple of weeks to see what we need to do. I can do some background research, so when we meet, and we can figure out how we need to go about this and what kind of timeline we're looking at. I would honestly say for the next meeting, we should be able to come back with some realistic timeframes of what we need to do, and we'll be able to work backwards from, here's the goal, here's what we want to do, and how do we get there, and the time it'll take, the avenues we need to take to get there.
Okay. That sounds good. And the other quick request would be, if you could, do you have a visual yet, a map showing the electric jitney routes?
I do, and I'll bring that up with you. One of the things, I know they can't see on those that are watching virtually, we're having these signs made as a test. When we talked about at the last work session of the council back on February 23rd, it says family parking only. So, if you got a family of, I'm still a family with all of my older friends, older members, but we're really trying to go towards those that are in strollers and hand walkers kind of thing. It's an honor system. We're going to try it out in Gotts Court with a couple spaces. Once the signs come in next week, we'll be able to report back to you. It's just a pilot, and if it works well, we might try it in other places. It's something similar to what you've seen, grocery store parking lots in the mall reserved for, expecting mothers or just families with children. I mean, certain things are new. Then, because of COVID, they have all these stalls that if you've called in here, you go to stall number 5, so we have reserved places so they can bring the things out for you. But I think this is a good step in the right direction with the things that we're going through with, Gotts Court and all of our areas that need work, elevators, mechanical things that break down. I think I made mention at our 23rd work session that we had 11 handicap spaces and 9 of which were van accessible. I was reminded or corrected that we have actually 22, and 9 of them are van accessible. So we can take away some of those to do maybe 3 spaces there just to try it out. Work continues with Techmark to get that circuit board fixed in the northeast elevator. Talked to planning and zoning of what needs to happen for the permit to do the work. Parts have been ordered. We really hope to get that one up soon. The other one, the whole design and build it, made mention that a local architect firm has been awarded back in January, and they're 2 or 3 months to get the design. Another RFP will go out to build, but that's 10 months away, maybe 9 months if we're aggressive, but that'll happen towards the end of this year. Then we have others to do, like in the Knighton Garage, and then of course one of our facilities where some of our offices are. We're dealing with all those at once. We got a little bit to work through that you'll hear during the budget deliberations.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you at this time.
Can we finish, or do you want?
Are you finished? Are you finished?
No.
Oh, well, go ahead.
I'd like to have Mr. Jason Perilla, the market president, with Megan Murray. They have a brief presentation to provide you. And I made mention we have Metropolis. They have a presentation, so we'll continue on. And then I think you have the Transportation
fine.
Board. Is Megan coming up?
Okay, hi, Jason Perola, Market President for Premium Parking. Thank you for having me here. So I have a short deck here for the last month since we met, and I'll just kind of go through that with you and take any questions that you have. Current status of elevators and EV chargers. All but one EV charger are working. This is sort of a repeat of last month's update with a small caveat.
We finally received the part that we had been waiting for many months, and it was installed. The issue was that as that was installed, it enabled us to find out that there was another part in the charger that also needed replaced. So once we had power flowing through the device, we found another fault, and that is unfortunately on order. I wish that wasn't my update on this, but incrementally closer. Unsure what the delivery time is on that part at this point. No elevator issues. I think my note right now is we need to replace some of the braille buttons inside. They get ripped off nearly every weekend. We're out of inventory and are placing an order on those. And then no updates from the partner in the concession with future EV strategy. I don't expect one to come anytime soon. I wanted to leave that in here for now. But they are looking at EV and solar at a high level. They manage about, I think it's 450 gigawatts of power around their book of business. And so we'll provide further updates when and if we receive some on that. At this point on the DMV integration through the MVA, right now, I believe it's actually with Marcus to look at with IT. The integration is via a FTP server. If you're familiar with those, it's a very archaic, old file sharing format. What it does is looks for replace or changes in files, and then it uploads and replaces new files and downloads changes from the other side. Right now, the MVA has a system or policy in place where you have to have, or you're allowed to have one administrator account per entity, the city of Annapolis being one. Going to work at the high levels of kind of saying, hey, that's a bit restrictive and prevents this being simple. This is I think at home at my office computer, I could set this up in 15 minutes and we could have this ready to rock. Right now, we'll have to work with Marcus and the tech team to figure out how both of the parking operators could have access to it without sharing each other's parker information and things like that. Don't know what the ETA will be on that. These are relatively low lifts, but probably a lot of more red tape around them than anything, but we'll push through that and see what we can learn. As soon as that's done, mobile LPR will start to happen as well. We'll either procure or lease. We have the pricing and everything set up for both with whatever we do. And actually have a really big improvement on the platform side on our mobile LPR and read rates and things like that that are exciting. And it's now moved to a continuous video that reads and has about a 99% read rate on accuracy as it drives down the street, which is good. Will help us with very limited staffing to be a bit more efficient with the enforcement that we do out in the field in between all of the one-off calls and things that we serve throughout the day. Beyond that, this is just a quick update, our February mystery shop score. This is kind of the norm. We typically run between 97 and 100%. I think our lowest over the last year was one that was 85 or 88. And most of that one was actually just a misunderstanding of the scoring and the items. So I think there were 2 deliverables we were able to walk away with and make changes to on that one bad one. But that is the most recent one. The one before that, you can see at the very bottom, the 2 middle columns, you can see the one before that for January was a 97.3. And I believe we lost points on that one mostly because of the storm and snow and things that were happening. This is a fun one, programs and promotions. So we said there was a pilot program on the way and couldn't say much more as of last month's meeting. At this point, we launched the Gold Pass this week. We put the PR out on Friday with the mayor's office. That has been, I was worried that we wouldn't have a big user base or a big interest base and that it would fall to the wayside. And we've had a really good, it's had good energy so far. We're only a few days into it. We've had over 60 applications in the first day around mid-afternoon. 39 have fully completed the registration process after the first 48 hours, which would be yesterday. And there's probably, interestingly enough, maybe another 50% of this would be an increase in demand for people outside of the city that are not residents, which is something we'll continue to monitor and take a look at. We want to. It's interesting that it was marketed to residents, but we're getting non-resident interest for this. This is for 62 and older, hence the Golden Pass name. What this does is it allows people to park at any meters in the city. So that was a last minute change. It includes Maryland Avenue, which I thought was a great inclusion and last minute change. And then if the inventory is not available to them, it also will work in the Hillman garage for these folks. And that's just to make sure. We didn't want to offer something with a paid program and then not have them be able to get access to it. The real original genesis of this was to, with all of the City Dock project and lost parking, to allow elderly to park in front of the store and not have to make quite a walk. Unfortunately, since all of that parking does expand all the way up to Market Space, there's very limited inventory on Main Street, and it's also probably the highest demand street in the city to park on. So that lets them access Hillman, but also kind of have an easy way to access it. Think of it as almost a monthly pass that expands into the metered areas, if you will. And then our occupancy. So January is a repeat from last month. You had this data, and I want to keep a couple months in this as we go through for future meetings, and not just have one with no reference point to what's happened prior. And then January, very interesting. This is Winter Storm Fern and the impact we had with all of the free parking for residents in the garage throughout January.
It's so it's full because of the winter parking.
Yes, and with that volume of snow, there was a lot of issues with dirty lasers. So these are laser counted vehicles, mixed with reported occupancy from the app that users can also report. They're blended and weighted. But yes, the majority of this, some tech issues with the snow being plowed over the sensors and them not working at all, resetting the counts every day, and then also just salt and things like that kicking up onto them with all of the wet weather that we had. And then a very expanded compared to normal period where we had the residents in the garage as we worked through the ice. I was shocked to see it, but it made sense once I stepped back and thought about this when I was looking at it. And this is the validation program data. To follow up with our last meeting, I've added the dollar amount, February being the most recent, and the third square at the top is the February dollar amount of free parking given to residents through the 2-hour program. Below it, you'll see, maybe I'll change the font to a little less gray one next month, but below it is the January amount as well, and you'll see it better displayed further down below also. And so we have the free 2-hour resident parking, and then you also have the park, shop, and dine for the last 2 months in this. And that is what I have, but love to take questions or have conversations.
If I may, one of the things that we're learning along the way, we'll make sure you guys get this information that you can look through before the meetings. So we're not always sending it to you after the time. So apologize for not having the printed material in your hands prior to the meeting.
And I'll take ownership of that. I had no mobile signal on my cell phone all day and spent half the day fighting that. So I was unable to send it to Marcus early enough to get it in your hands. But we will do that in the future.
Okay, so that's the end of your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was great. You gonna give us copies of it, or you have to send?
We will send those out, yeah. With the tech issue I had, I couldn't get them out
Okay.
earlier today. We'll follow up with them, and
Yes,
then in the
please
future,
do.
make sure you get them prior
do.
to us sitting down.
Yeah, going forward, we'll make sure you have them prior to, but all the presentations and things that we've
Okay.
given, because I think Will also had an issue with what you were seeing and what he was reading from.
Right.
So we'll make sure those are all sent before the end of the week, preferably
Okay.
tomorrow. You'll have everything that
Appreciate
we
it.
talked about.
Thank you, and thank you for coming out.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, you'll be hearing from Mr. Jason Kinney, Senior Manager with Metropolis.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Brianna Denton. I'm the operations manager for Annapolis Parking Metropolis.
Thanks. And I'm Jason Kinney. I'm the senior manager for Annapolis Parking.
Okay. Thank you. The presentation. Oh, yeah.
All right. I had one question from the last time that I'm aware of, and we will get to that at the end of the presentation. It's part of the presentation, but everything else is just occupancy for the garages. Little breakdown there. You can see the total visits, where our biggest stays are. The 2 to 4 hours seems to be the biggest, the most amount of stays. For this is for Gott's Garage for January, and then this is just a little heat map that shows you visits per day. And you can see how after the 13th kind of picked up a little bit during the week. We tend to be busiest Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during session. This is February. Visit counts are up a little over 2,000. And again, 2 to 4 hours is like the biggest group of visits, but you can see the 4 to 8 hours has really stepped up since we're in the middle of session. Did I miss one? Oh, and your heat map for February's visits. And this is the Knighton Garage for January. And your heat map. And you can see how the snow really affected everything. No visits during the snow. And your visits for February. Again, that 2 to 4, 4 to 8. The biggest, the most amount of people are staying in the garages for transient parkers. And there's your visits by day. And I'll fix this for next time because I just realized that that doesn't have the days of the week on it. I think February 1st was a Thursday. And then Park Place. And you can see Park Place, we have some longer stays, not many, but 6 and 7 days because of the hotel upstairs. There's your heat map. Well, it's not really a heat map, but your visits by day. And then February, 18,494 visits for the whole month. And that's the visit breakdown by day. And then you'll see the 12th and the 14th. The 12th was the Peace Walk when the monks came. What? And then the 26th was a small business symposium it was held at the Westin Hotel. So we did good those 2 days. And this is this is the number of citations that was issued by month by garage. And then of this number, 218 were adjusted for first-time infractions. So when somebody gets a citation in the garage for the very first time, instead of the whole thing, we reduce it to what the cost of their parking was. So if they were there for 2 hours and didn't pay and left and got a citation for the $6, then we reduce it to the $6.45. So they pay their parking fee and the service fee, and then now they're signed up. Now they'll never get another citation.
Is Park Place so high because we're guessing the hotel and just out of towners not knowing the process?
We're still, like, this is higher than it was at the end of last year. So we're still kind of investigating that. I think a lot of it is that we don't understand. We get a lot of that in the appeal process.
Yeah, because getting nearly double of GOTS and
Yeah.
nearly quadruple. My numbers are rounded, obviously here, but those pretty substantial differences.
But it's also 3 times the size too.
Yeah, Park Place has 1,140 spaces.
Well,
GOTS
twice the size.
it's about twice the size of GOTS.
So if we account for that, would that'll, I guess, even out, I suppose?
A little bit.
Or it's all relative?
It is a little bit higher than last, as he mentioned, but it is always a higher number than the rest of the facilities, just due to the size, I believe. I do think that we're working with Vinode on some things that might help alleviate some of those issues, but we are still currently investigating what the cause of those are.
All right, thank you.
Interior signage, wayfinding inside the garage. And then last, this is your validation usage for the garages. So 206 residential QR codes were used, or 412 hours. And then the residential automated QR or validation, we had 12 of those. And then the businesses, 3,458, and that's a mix of park shop and dines, bed and breakfasts. Some people do buy full comps for their visitors. That's included in that number as well.
That also includes, and I need to correct that, employee validation usage as well.
Ah, okay.
I just realized that doesn't, but those are included.
And then the residential automated, we now have the ability to add residents to a group, like a membership, and they don't have to scan a QR code. They drive in, it recognizes their tags, it automatically applies the 2-hour residential validation, and they drive out. So, and we are slowly, the numbers are small right now because it's new, and we're slowly transitioning people to that option. And that's all I got.
Anything else? No? Well, thank you for coming by.
Did you guys have any
Inform us
questions?
What's going on at the garages? Great information, and it's just going to take time, but we'll get there.
Do you have any questions for us?
Do you have any questions? No,
Thank you
not
so
at this
much.
time. Thanks again.
Have a good evening.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Marcus, you're done? Are you done? Okay, have a nice day. Okay, next on the agenda is ID 1226 Transportation Board update.
Good
Chair
afternoon.
here today, Ms. Tara here.
Yeah, good afternoon. Tara Ashmore, Chair of the Annapolis
Ashmore.
Transportation Board. We don't have, I have not much to discuss, or actually nothing, but this is the opportunity we had mentioned, bringing Zoe Johnson to meet with you all so that you could get to know her. She is the liaison from the Naval Academy on the Transportation Board, and she's really quite knowledgeable about transportation and all things with infrastructure, roadway work being done in Annapolis. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Madam Chair. Alderman Brooke Schindelmeyer. My name is Zoe Johnson. I'm the Community Planning Liaison Officer for the U.S. Naval Academy and Naval Support Activity Annapolis. And it's been my pleasure to sit on the Annapolis Transportation Board for 6 years. I looked it up this morning. So so I've been in several administrations with the city, but it has been very informative, and it's been very useful for us to continue advocating and being a good neighbor to the city of Annapolis. We are not an island at the Naval Academy. We depend on community resources, both on the city of Annapolis side, here on this side of the Severn River. We sit within the city of Annapolis, and on the other side of the Severn River, on the North Severn side, we do our coordination with Anne Arundel County. And so I wanted to take the opportunity, Tara, mentioned at one of the last meetings, you asked if I could come and kind of share some of the things we're working on and how we're working with the city and kind of what some of our interests are and why I continue dedicating my time to participating on the Transportation Board. So just the kind of high-level issues that we're interested in with regard to the Naval Academy and continuing to support our mission in concert with the city. We have a lot of special events. City has a lot of special events. We have a lot of general traffic congestion issues throughout the city. I like to say even any given Friday, we've got a lot of traffic backups, but throughout the city, I would say that we do have, some serious congestion issues. And so we are continuing working and exploring ways at alleviating some of those congestion problems through infrastructure upgrades, traffic signal upgrades, better planning and preparedness for evacuation and response planning, and a lot of special event planning around Navy games, boat shows, miscellaneous festivals, these foot race routes that are, the three major running races that we have. Another one is coming up on March 21st. So the other thing that we're very interested in continuing working with the city on is public safety, including infrastructure projects for both pedestrians, bicycles, but also roadways. Our midshipmen, you can see them recreating, throughout the city, but you can also see them doing physical training and their running routes. They don't always stay on sidewalks. We encourage them to stay on sidewalks, but they do run throughout the city. So improvements for bicycle and pedestrian, improvement projects, we're working on both right, there on Route 450 in King George, but we're also supporting other upgrades to pedestrian and bicycle safety routes throughout the city, recognizing that our employees, but also our midshipmen, are utilizing those same resources. And evacuation route planning is something. There are only 3 major evacuation routes out of the city of Annapolis. We sit at the Naval Academy, kind of on the corner, if you will, and so we're very dependent on working with the city's emergency management office on making sure that we have good communication and planning when it comes to evacuation. So with those kind of high-level issues, I wanted to kind of just give you a few projects that we're working on, just to kind of showcase the kind of planning and preparedness and project execution that we're working on in concert with the city. Right now, this is a project that's being led by the State Highway Administration with Department of Transportation funding, which is the Route 450 King George Street pedestrian and bicycle safety improvement project. Alderman Schindelmeyer mentioned that projects take a long time, unfortunately. We've been working on a project there well, initially a sidewalk improvement projects in 2016. We're 10 years in. They sort of switched that project to the state highway, came back around, I think, 2020, and started the first feasibility study of doing a bicycle and safety improvement project. So moving from just sidewalk upgrades to looking at options for both bicycles as well as a shared use path. They started with 7 alternatives, and it's a very complicated segment of roadway. It's basically what they call an infrastructure retrofit project, where you have to try and figure out how you're going to expand a roadway, put in new, ADA compliant sidewalks, put in a shared use path, look at your options for in-road bike lanes, off-road bike lanes, and what can you fit within that existing infrastructure. So process really, we went from 7 alternatives down to 3, and now we're down to 1. And it's moving forward in terms of, there's a commitment by State Highway Administration to see that project through to 100% design. We're still not firm on the timeline, but they are working towards 100% design, yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what it's moving forward into? I missed that word. You said it was moving forward into, and then I missed that.
100% design,
Design, okay, thank you.
with a commitment for funding by State Highway Administration. But this includes a large stakeholder planning group. The city participates, the county, Bike AAA, as well as State Highway Administration. Then it is all, at least the portion that we're working on, 100% on federal property. So the real estate piece will come in line as well, but that will be obviously complicated and take approximately a year to 18 months. So that's sort of why it takes so long, just to try and look at some of these infrastructure retrofit projects that are complicated from a design perspective, but also complicated from a real estate perspective. This project, though, ties into improvements on the Naval Academy Bridge, and will tie into the bike paths that are on North Severn, as well as travel down Taylor Avenue and tying in with the Naval Academy Trail. So it will be a huge project once we get it over the goal line, but it is still a work in progress. But we're very thankful for the county and the city who both contributed to the funds towards the feasibility study, as well as State Highway that now is committed to the design and moving forward to construction. The other project I want to mention is the Military Installation Resilience Review Project. So this was a DoD-funded study that was completed in around 2022 and 2023. These were DoD dollars that were brought to the city and Anne Arundel County to look at the impacts of extreme weather and infrastructure improvements that could be made to better improve the resiliency for both the installation and the surrounding community. And that project funded what was called Intelligent Transportation Signal Upgrade Study, looking at these key evacuation routes, not just near the Naval Academy, but throughout the city, on Forest Drive, West Street, Rowell Boulevard, and on Route 450. And what sort of technology the existing signal network used, and what opportunities there were to advance the signalization to enable us to install signal upgrades. The city is kind of taking that report and now is working, moving forward, and we're continuing to engage with them to kind of move that and advance that project or those projects. There is some opportunity to pursue some additional DoD funding, particularly for signals that support the Naval Academy's evacuation response planning. The tricky thing is that there is a hodgepodge of who owns traffic signals throughout the city of Annapolis. So the 2 signals that sit on Naval Academy property on Route 450 and King George Street, as well as Boyer Road and Gate 8, are both owned and operated by State Highway Administration. So they're state assets. Same on Rowell Boulevard. I'm not sure about West Street, and then those that sit on Forest Drive. So, and then a number of the signals within the city are also operated by the state. So we're really continuing to work. This is sort of an area we want to focus a little bit more heavily on, in the next year or so, really to kind of take a better look at where we are and what we need to do next to advance the signalization and of these intersections, so that we can do better response planning and also as a secondary benefit, would help with congestion flow. Signals could be timed. We could do reverse flow during evacuation. There's a lot of opportunities. The other area that we work very closely with the city on is these road race coordination. We coordinate these road races. So just want to give you an example. This event that's coming up on March 21st, the Annapolis Running Festival, requires the closure of our Gate 8, which is our primary entrance into the gate, into the Naval Academy, for 3.5 hours. So we've worked with the city and the reason for that is that the runners run from the stadium, downtown Annapolis, down Randall Street, up King George Street. They run over the Naval Academy Bridge, up Baltimore-Annapolis Boulevard, and then they come back down, and then they run back over the bridge to Rowell Boulevard and back to the stadium. So Gate 1, we've worked very closely with the city to support metered traffic for about an hour period between 7 and 8 a.m. And so traffic is congested there, but the race and the organizers in the city can support traffic both inflow and outflow at the Naval Academy. The concern is just the length of time that we lose access at Gate 8. So just want to thank the city for their continued participation, but we're constantly looking for ways to kind of coordinate and improve these races and the congestion and the impacts on our gates. The spring races are much more complicated because I think we have 7 athletic events on Saturday, March 21st. During the same period as the race. We have a STEM event with 400 students coming in, and we have a candidate visited weekend for USNA admissions with about 250 students on the same day. So we're trying to get students off, we're trying to get students on, we're trying to get our athletes and visiting athletes to different venues, including those on North Severn, and it's just a lot to coordinate. We're working well and we're working on it, but it just kind of shows you the type of coordination and the mechanics of it to ensure that the races are not, sort of impacting mission and we're both carrying on all of these activities. So I just kind of want to highlight that those are the kind of operational special event planning coordination efforts that we work very closely with the city on. The other thing that we work very closely with the city on is construction project coordination. So we have 3 projects, 1 currently underway on Hanover and Wagner Street, where we've coordinated a parking and sidewalk closure for a period of 2 years with the city of Annapolis, and unfortunate impacts to those residents in that area. We are rebuilding a failing perimeter wall from the 1800s, and it's a long, steady construction project that required parking outages. So we've run a number of community meetings, 2 community meetings with those constituents, and with the support of the city and the Department of Transportation. But there's a lot of concern and angst among those residents just on the loss of parking and the need for better parking enforcement. We did work, and the Transportation Department helped support the conversion of on-street parking to residential only, but it still requires some enforcement. So that's something that we're working on. The other project that we kicked off just this week, you may have seen it, is we are starting a flood wall construction project on Lower Prince George Street. So basically extends from Berry Gate to the Severn River, where our flood wall will tie in with the City Docks flood protection project. So we've worked extremely, most of the time I've been presenting to the City Council, it's been on this project, but over the last 6 years or so. But that project also took out parking, which is unfortunate, about 5 parking spaces over the life of that project. That project is estimated to take approximately 1 year. So the other project that we just awarded for construction, we will be replacing the utility bridge that runs alongside the College Creek Bridge on King George Street. So that existing utility bridge will come down. It is the U-shaped bridge that sits just to the right side as you're exiting King George Street, and we'll be replacing that bridge with a new bridge 50 feet further towards the Naval Academy. There will be impacts that we'll need to get on the existing state bridge when we move to the portion of the project when we remove the existing utility bridge. So there'll be some impacts to King George Street there. So we're working, obviously when we get to that stage, we'll work with the city, the county, the state, to support that major construction project. So those are just kind of a couple examples of how we, coordinate for projects, for special events, for kind of the issues we want to work towards in terms of flood resiliency, as well as better evacuation and response planning for the safety of our midshipmen and our population. The other thing area that and one of the I would say hot topic for the transportation board is public transportation. So our midshipmen are one of the high users of public transportation. They have certain routes that they love. And so we want to continue supporting the city and advocating for the use and routes that are the services that benefit midshipmen. So those are just a few areas of interest. And I just want to thank you for your time and for the opportunity to continue representing the Navy on the city's transportation board.
Not only with just the events you were talking about, but you got the commencement coming up soon too, so.
That's one of the special events. Yeah, that's,
Yes.
yes. So,
Yes, so
and you
that's
can-
gonna all run right behind each other, yeah, all together. But we appreciate working with you all at any time, But if you could send that information to us, copies of what you just indicated, for we can send to our constituents to let them know about what areas are gonna be busy, what streets gonna be, bottled or whatever. Please.
Will do.
Also, Alderman Sharma had some concerns.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wouldn't say concerns, but excitement and wanting more information on the Naval Academy Bridge project. So I appreciate you getting into that. That was actually something that Alderman Savage wanted some more information on as well, but unfortunately had to step out. So you said that was entering the design phase.
it is in the design
It is in
phase.
the design phase.
It's past 30%.
So it's at 30% of the design phase? Mm-hmm. How long?
Tracking towards 60.
How long does the rest of the 70% of the design phase take? Or
I
is
don't
that
have-
a giant void of?
It's not our project. It's being
Okay.
led by the State Highway Administration. So it's likely to take 2026, and then probably the next phase in 27, probably if I had to guess, and I can't really speak for State Highway, but we're still looking at a year to 2 years out for construction.
So 2 years out from construction. Thank you.
Because we will, once they're at 60% design, we can begin the real estate process, so we'll know the right-of-way and the extent of roadway impacts, and we can begin that real estate process with State Highway.
Okay, thanks again for coming out and giving us the upcoming events at the Academy. Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks, Zoe. Thank you. That's all for us today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, the agenda is complete, so is anything else for the good of the order?
I just want to shout out and thank our colleague Alderman Savage, who who had to duck out, but getting the RFP for the study for the streetcar going down West Street into downtown. That's great work. He's been spearheading that for the past year, and really proud of him.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I say aye, so the meeting is adjourned.